Welcome, Roxy. And finally, the Renner on which the Vations are based tonight. Please welcome Jeremy Renner. Jeremy! What happened? You got in a fight with a snowman in Reno or something like that? We will, you have been collecting these large-scale vehicles for how long now?
It's like maybe 5 years or so. Yeah.
Did you start collecting them with the idea that you were going to do something good with them?
Yeah. I wasn't just buying them just to take up space. No, there's always a purpose. There's always a purpose for every single one of them. And the purpose kept changing as I kept buying more.
Right. You realize that this is what crazy people say, though, about stuff that they keep buying.
I want to buy out of order.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I don't want them. No, I love the idea. I didn't like the things. I do like the idea of repurposing things, and especially really wonderful things that our taxpayer dollars go towards, especially emergency vehicles and all these state-run vehicles. And they're great machines. They're perfectly good machines, and they shouldn't go to waste. So I just thought of different ways to repurpose them. And and then when it became about kids directly, I just got really excited about it and started building crazy.
Whose idea was it to do this, to turn this into a television show and to start using these vehicles in such a particular way?
Well, I guess Rory was championing that idea, weren't you? I was shooting Hawkeye at the time, and he put together this hour-and-a-half long presentation. And he had all these you could tell the story. It was very embarrassing.
My kids taught me how to use iMovie, and I have thousands of hours on my iPhone, and I put it together with these cheesy graphics. I thought it looked awesome. It was like this year's Academy Award for Best Animation goes, and it wasn't to me. It was an hour and a half, and he kept saying, dude, I'm exhausted, I'm hungry, I'm starving, is this thing gonna frickin' end? What's the point of this thing? I go, the point is, you're hoarding these vehicles, you keep saying you're gonna sell one or two of them, you don't. I got the Auto Trader hotline on his phone and the app, and he's like, what am I gonna do with this stuff? He was gonna create businesses for kids, like a fire truck with a slide and a soft serve ice cream cone at a DJ booth. And I just sat there, it's great if you got 2 of these things like you said you did, but you got hundreds. You see that scene in the lot, and I asked which ones are his? It looks like a municipal parking lot for city view. I'm not joking you. And I thought I was trying to figure out which fire truck was his. They're all his, and that's just one lot. There's another lot, and he just bought another lot. And he swore he was not going to buy any more vehicles. And literally last week, and now he's hiding them from me. He used to hide them from his mom. He's like, yeah. I'm on his photo link on one of his drop boxes. He doesn't realize when he downloads something, it shows up on my phone. And I texted him, I go, dude, what the hell are these? He said no more. He's like, it's gonna be 10 seasons of this show, man. You got enough for 50 seasons, dude. You'll be dead by the time you use these vehicles.
I think what Rory's trying to say is this is not a screening, it's an intervention.
It totally is. Yeah.
I'm into it. Ramilda, what name did you want for it, Jeremy?
Good machines.
Good Machines?
Yeah.
Well, you know what that shows? Even though you're the star of the show, you allow them to outvote you. Or maybe they did this while you're in the hospital?
Yeah.
Just drop a logo fast. Just sign here. Let's talk about some of the vehicles. Is there something you want to turn maybe an oil tanker into a Chick-fil-A?
I think the ideas, I have a plethora of them actually. A lot of them started from, again, one of them were actually self-sustaining kind of businesses. And my daughter actually came up with one, which is awesome, because I had this ambulance, and she wanted to turn it into a mobile pet adoption clinic. And I thought, what a cool idea. She drew up the plans, the whole thing. It was really amazing. Again, another fun part of doing this process was actually being able to do it with my daughter, with family, with friends, and to really move the needle forward and do really amazing things. It does take a giant collective Even if it's just an harebrained, half-ass idea of mine, it took a lot of people to really manifest this, and I couldn't be more honored and loved and fulfilled having this many people help me move the needle for these kids, man.
I can't imagine my dad letting me design some kind of a vehicle. I mean, we barely even had a car when I was growing up, and it broke down every single time we tried to go to Disneyland. And now that I think about it, I have a feel. I think that was maybe his way of getting out of going to Disneyland. So did you make that pet adoption vehicle?
No, we just designed it. We were in the middle of actually filming. She was a part of a lot of the design, actually, on this music studio bus, a few other ones, the dance studio bus. Getting a 10-year-old's opinion is pretty kind of important because that's who you're building for, right?
Right, yeah.
Thank you, Ava, my love. She's here.
Good job, Ava. I imagine like next season, Ava in that vehicle just throwing cats out the window into the neighborhood. Dozens and dozens of pets being adopted. Shooting the series.
When I got to use a grinder and it worked, because everything else I did.
Pepper?
Yeah. No, it was a series of moments, and it always had to do with the reveal, because I always wondered, and I'm sure all of you do as well, why the hell am I on the show? Because I can't operate a tool or anything. And Jeremy kept saying, you're the eyes of the audience, because you get to see this and experience it, because you know nothing about vehicles. And the learning for me was, the takeaway, the heartfelt one, was when you saw the kids, and on the great kids from base Chicago over here, they're all representing Chicago. But you saw the joy, and that these vehicles landed, like they actually worked, and instead of just sort of being abandoned and for the purpose of a show, Jared was so adamant that they had a legacy, that have a life behind them. And you see by the reaction of the kids with big brothers and sisters at Casa Hogar on the water filtration truck that brought clean water to kids at schools. These vehicles aren't going away. They're going to be more and more of them. And to me, the joy of the children's reactions and seeing that the longevity and lifespan of these vehicles will continue on, that was to me very, very, very rewarding.
Romilda?
It's hard to say. I think I grew up as a dancer, and
Same here.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And I think seeing the light, the light in those kids' eyes, that they can dance and they can have a special place. And it was incredible. It was really something that it touched me. And I think from my personal, unfortunate experience, I don't have kids, but the fact that Jeremy is bringing love to kids is something unique and special. And those kids were, they light our trip, I think. Every kid was fantastic, but I think that part touched me deeply.
Patrick?
Yeah, there were a lot of emotional moments in the show. It was very uplifting and heartwarming when we met with the kids and heard about their needs. And then there was a lot of moments with Jeremy and Rory and the team that really felt just like friends on a journey. And we tried to bring all those many emotions to the show and to the episodes. But I think some of the ones that were most fun for me, which tended to keep happening over the course of making the show, was just when the crew, and Jeremy and Rory and all of us, behind the cams, would be just having the best time and laughing uncontrollably. Some of that was actually in this episode when they were all around the table and everyone was just laughing so hard, and you could really kind of see it there for a moment. But really, that just being on that journey with these guys and Romilda behind the camera and all the builders was just so amazing. There were a lot of moments like that nobody will ever see, but it was just, we were all in it for the mission. We were all in it for Jeremy's mission, and it was just different and fun to make. That kind of set it apart from other shows. And those moments when we were all just like laughing and having a good time as a family, that really meant a lot.
Roxy?
I got to be there for the Vito bus reveal, and being able to see the kids' reactions and knowing the impact it's going to have in their community and giving them a place where they can go meet up and be mentored. And that was what really touched my heart. And actually one of the big sisters and they gave me a little sign, a plaque, thank you, the builders, and it was just really touched my heart, and so I just feel really honored to have been part of this project.
What's the best way to get the enemy to talk?
It's classified.
She says that all the time. Gives him nothing.
You give nothing. Jeremy, how about you? What was the best part? And I know the whole experience was rewarding, and the idea that you made this phone call in the middle of the night shows how excited you were about it, and also how inconsiderate you are of time zones and people's sleep.
I take no, and just I don't take no's for an answer, right? It's,
But what
I
was
tell you, I think it was early on. I think that there's one thing that if I ever wanted anything out of this was already happened on the first episode, wherever the first thing we were filming, and there was the Big Brothers Big Sisters vehicle. It's a wonderful mobile vehicle, but it was, we learned so much about Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I was familiar with it, right? I don't know, does anybody know about Big Brothers Big Sisters? So I was kind of familiar with it because I did it when I was in LA here, like 15 years ago, whatever, for a while. And I got to learn more about it, and then learn it with the kids. And then we were all really invested in these kids. And I was quiet about my feelings about it. And then I hear, there was a couple, I think it was a crew member that already signed up to be, he was so inspired by the show and the dialogue and the chats with the kids and with the leaders of Big Brothers Big Sisters that were big brothers themselves. And they were so inspired that they became the big brother. I don't know if they're here, but that's the whole point of this anyway. The end result, secretly and quietly for me, is that somebody gets inspired to be actual and do something about people. It starts with my family and my daughter, and then a big part of my recovery was this show. It set a big milestone for me to get better, to make sure that all our hard work was not for naught. For me running my damn self over, right? Well, there's no alternative. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, it was easy because I had somewhere to go, I had somewhere to point, and I had a lot of love and money. And I don't know why, I feel like I don't deserve it. I feel like I'm kind of a jerk half the time, but somehow, some way, today.
I think I'm supposed to jump in and defend you on that point, but I'm at a loss for words.